as an online marketer, online entrepreneur, as a person who's been in the field for a long, long time, people usually do what they do with the idea of what the outcome is going to be. But some of us, we actually just do it because we want to provide support and help. And in this case, for the Inspiring Human Potential content, all of it, it's always been with one objective, and still one objective in mind, which is to help people to be their self, like their actual self, which from the heart of you is a person who can have compassion, as the lovely psychoeducators I'm learning from point out again and again and again, how attachment wounds are actually what can create repeat cycles. And here's why the 5D mystic, those who are here at this point in time, like I, have been looking into all topics. We don't identify with one word. I have to use words to make sure the right people get across the content, because otherwise you don't know what I'm talking about. And actually, I already share my lightworker's life with people who actually don't know what I'm talking about. Some of them look at me weird, they have in the past, and then they figure out I'm not bullshitting them, and stuff like that. But I also never did the whole I'm part of some anointed group of whatever, which is completely 4D. So words I use as a marketer, it's to ensure I get in front of the right eyes, because otherwise somebody's going to be like, what the hell is this woman talking about? And then there's also the part of the objective to help those who want to be themselves. And when I say that, some will be curious about it. Some will be, well, I am myself. Some will, but that is where, if there's curiosity and there's ears that hear, then there's an opening for the person. And obviously, here's the beauty of content creation and there being so many people online supporting each other, right? You can find whatever floats your boat. So the unconditionally loving message is in fact going to attract only those who are inclined and or in 5D. The 5 dimension is and has always been talked about as unconditional love. To this day, I'm surprised at any person who's in 4D who keeps talking about 5D, because it's kind of like when I've seen people in specific religions, I won't speak of which ones to avoid any kind of, offending the ego-sensitive individuals, but I was shocked beyond a reasonable doubt for being in situations that I consider hypocritical. The fact that I spell out my background, I spell out who I am, what I do, and having people actually try to tell me why should I, why are you not converting to a religion that they think that I should be a part of? I'm like, did you hear what you're just, what are you doing here? Are you actually trying to tell another human being that they should join what you think? So it's a long story short. 5D mystics and intuitives, we don't actually want to or have to use these words, because that relationship with energy that I was telling you guys about in yesterday's is actually what's very clear to us, and it's connected also to human evolution. Our interests are actually to expand society, to expand each other, to support. There is no objective except for let us add to the world every day. And so here's where we don't do what we do based on an identity. People who need an identity, here's where they're not yet in their, in fact, secure attachment with their differentiated self. They could be in secure attachment with their group because they found a group where they belong, and that's great and dandy, and that's where we have the in and out and the 3D, 4D group of people, not good or bad, again, just the way that they approach everything that is here right now, which would be by name calling everything that humanity is evolving towards as if it's wrong or shit, or some opinion, again, that has no place in the now. It has place in the past. But because they're in group, and see, there's a way that the brain works. If people learned about neurobiology, neurochemistry, they would start finding out about these things. So the in group, there's like a circuitry of some sort. I'm not going to explain it well, but where once you're part of a group, You're going to have dopamine and serotonin, is I believe what they were talking about, which will release. And it's like this reward system, but really it's also a sense of safety. And, even just thinking about it without any of the neurobiology stuff, if you're welcomed, you're going to be like, oh, I fit in. How beautiful. Here's that mammalian heritage of wanting to feel loved and, social engagement. But the minute you're deciding to fit one group is the minute that you have joined or continued this separation consciousness. Another word people love to use when they talk about 5D, and that apparently they don't realize that if you don't look at yourself as a human being, you're already creating separation consciousness. So for me, for example, and any person who's already a 5D mystic, our clairs, as they gradually made their way to us, we didn't be like, oh, we're anointed, oh, we're part of the 100 whatever thousand people, we must be special. No, it's something that's part of energy. We're energy. So it was more like, there's something, we'll know. So I knew I'd be sharing about my light worker's life. I don't prefer using the word because all people are light workers, but I will use the word because there's a group of us who actually experience. We experience our oversoul. We experience dreams, travel, astral travel. We experience aspects that in time I would look to what physics and the psychology community in the absence of spirituality. I don't want to accompany it with a belief system. I want to get the data to see if I can share with the community who's curious how it relates to this field of energy, because it's just as beautiful. And on that note, here's a quote that I was seeing from Sadhguru. He says, if you exist here only as a body and a mind, suffering is inevitable. Meditation means to go beyond the limitations of your body and mind and know freedom. Now, I love Sadhguru, but here's where the part about suffering really... It's not about meditation, because meditation puts into practice the ability for you to pause and learn how to start using your witness and observer, and then to be able and transmute your own unknown charge states. There's a bunch of mechanical, quote unquote, human stuff that goes into what can take place. So if you just sit and meditate, your freedom ain't coming, because the minute that you're encountering that same situation where your adaptive child comes out, so when you're in charge state, when you're getting all upset, you just did the same adaptive child response. So you didn't master or move beyond something, you just learned how to put into practice. So the tool meditation helps you, but if you don't know what you're doing as a human being, and so here's where body and mind are actually freaking amazing when you understand how they work together, which means you care about the human you are, which 4D people apparently don't. They just go into, metaphysics, esotericism, spirituality, holistic, only one thing, and they completely disengage from the science, or they don't come across it. But again, their mind isn't curious. So here's something that I want to share in today's little podcast short. The attachment adult, interview. So I don't have enough time to go over all of what's this, but it's part of the attachment developmental researchers. They have this 20 questions that allows a person to figure out their attachment, not style, because style is for the researchers that focus on relationships, and they're a different group. So they do different empirical data, but both show the same aspect, which is people live. So for the attachment relationship people, they call them wounds, and they will have a way that they relive their wounds until you move out of it, but that's through your own participation of figuring out, oh wait, I'm repeating a specific cycle. The developmental, they look at other aspects. So in purpose of time, the sentence that was important for me to share with you is this one, that they found that working on your self-understanding is a good thing, and what is the nature of reality. So you being able to make sense of your life is what can free you, instead of passing on to the next generation the difficult experiences that you had. And so the making sense process stops the transgenerational passage of suboptimal attachment. Making sense of your life makes sense to do. It's very straightforward. And I know a lot of people that don't do that, but they do find their in or out group. And we'll talk more about that in time. If you look to unconditionally love who you are and who others are with flaws and imperfections, and you connect to your humanness, and then you add spiritual and spirituality, you actually have a beautiful journey ahead of you, and those clairs really serve us to support each other to continue those corrective experiences in our growing expansion of consciousness relationships, which is where people want to be seen and felt, and they want to support each other. So tune in for more, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, let me know.